Council and the other CIA factions prepared to take over Syria once they topple Assad, or once they get a big civil war going, or any of the other contingency plans they have in the works. But that is why Tony Cartalucci, among others, has written that Hillary Clinton must resign, because she's been propping up this latest event in Tremsa as a massacre when it was really a battle from a faction they've covertly propped up. Let's just get honest about what's going on here. Her irresponsible warmongering challenges America's credibility, he argues, and obviously that's true, but of course Hillary's just taking orders from those who steer the real master plan. She's just a hatchet man, she's an executioner, she doesn't make decisions, although she happily would make basically the same decisions because she loves to see people, well, let's just say some celebrate the war and bloodshed that goes on around the world. I, for one, don't. I hope we can somehow avoid this. Meanwhile, there's another bombshell with Syria. A defected Syrian ambassador admits to his role in killing U.S. troops. He claims he was killing on behalf of al-Qaeda and on behalf of Assad in Iraq. Well, while it may be true that al-Qaeda was killing U.S. soldiers in Iraq, there's very little evidence to believe it was being directed from Assad. Instead, Tony Cartalucci outlines how the West has been propping up al-Qaeda for all these years, and how all that killing was basically done under the Hegelian dialectic to stir things up and ensure a big body count, and how this hero of the West for defecting is really part of the problem, and they're just propping up Assad's so-called casualty claims and his wrongdoings while always avoiding what the West has done. I hope they don't go to war. We turn now to the Daily Quote. Stay tuned. After the break, we have the big Jeffrey Smith interview. You want to tune in, you want to share it with friends and family, especially those who really haven't gotten around to studying the effects of genetically modified organisms. This is a great primer, a great introductory lesson. We turn now to that quote. By the end of this decade, we will live under the first one-world government that has ever existed in the society of nations, a government with absolute authority to decide the basic issues of survival. One world government is inevitable. That's from Pope John Paul II, and it's definitely true. You see it with the environmental issues. You see it with the demonization of guns. They want a collectivist society, not an individual society. So being an individual in the future is basically going to be outlawed and demonized. You always have to do things for that greater good. Anyway, thanks for watching, people. Please subscribe to PrisonPlanet.tv. You help fund this program. You help us get the word out. And please also check out Planet InfoWars, where you can turn the website, that's a social network website, into your weapon against the New World Order. You can make it your info war to fight your way, hone in on the issues you think are most important, and help organize people either in your local area or across the globe who are interested in it, network on the issue, and begin to take action. That's all for my part for tonight. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.
Have you been to InfoWarsShop.com lately? Express your inner patriot with these brand new InfoWars t-shirts. Say it loud with the InfoWars Bullhorn shirt, or educate the sheeple with the Bill of Rights shirt. Grope the public's mind with the TSA shirt. And with this shirt, you can let the dark side know of the Rebel Alliance's power. All available at InfoWarsShop.com.
Sick of the globalist eugenicist control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at InfoWars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. InfoWars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure, but if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at InfoWars.com. can also call to order 888-253-3139.
We are back at the INFOWARS Nightly News. As we mentioned before the break, we're going to play now a full hour-long exclusive INFOWARS interview with Jeffrey M. Smith. He's the leading expert on genetically modified organisms. He's not only studied all the scientific studies on them, he's interviewed industry experts, he's interviewed those scientists who conducted the research, he's found out all the inside tracks of how some of the scientists talk about population control, how others are not able to continue the research because of threats, because of destroyed equipment, because of loss of funding, while all the industry studies just automatically and superficially say GMOs are safe to eat when we know damn sure well they're not. The whole future of humanity is at stake if we don't stop these things from taking over the market, which Monsanto and the other major players are working very hard, as we mentioned about this bill, to ensure that they're allowed to go through even before safety testing. They are trying to take over everything, and it's not just the physical effects. It's not just the organ damage. It's not just the effect of gut flora. It's not just the sterility and infertility that's all been linked to GMO. It's taking over government itself, putting in their vice presidents, their lobbyists as the key FDA approval mechanisms, buying out the USDA and the other regulatory agencies, making sure that they don't do their real job to simply let Americans and others around the world know what's on their plate. This is a disturbing trend. It's not going to go away until we look closely at the issue. So with all that in mind, that's why we're going to show you this exclusive Jeffrey M. Smith video. But I also want to let you know we carry a number of his products at INFOWARS.com. It's not to make money. It's to educate people on how important GMO issue is. The latest is Scientists Under Attack, Genetic Engineering in the Magnetic Field of Money. That was a Bertram Verhaeghe video produced in France and Germany, but with cooperation from Jeffrey Smith. He helped us get it here at the INFOWARS store. He's also put out the GMO trilogy, an excellent highlight on the basic primer of the whole deal. He also interviews the experts in India, where they've been fighting the farmer suicides and trying to keep GMO out. His book, Seeds of Deception, an excellent book, and his other book, Genetic Roulette, all by Jeffrey M. Smith. We also carry The World According to Monsanto, which he's had some cooperation of, and all of them really expose this industry for what it is, highlight the dangers, and help educate people, as well as telling them where to shop to avoid genetically modified foods, and some literature on which foods are most important to make sure you buy organics on. With no further ado, we turn now towards that interview, and we really respect all the warnings Jeffrey M. Smith has tried to bring to our program and to the alternative news world in general.
Of the hundreds of researchers that I've interviewed, scientists, you name it, no one has showed a greater overall knowledge and the skill to articulate it in an easily understandable way than Jeffrey M. Smith. His detailed study of GMOs, Monsanto, suppressing science and research is just amazing. Well, here's the exclusive, never before seen and heard interview with Jeffrey M. Smith.
My name is Jeffrey Smith, and I'm the Executive Director and founder of the Institute for Responsible Technology. Our campaign for healthier eating in America is designed to create a tipping point of consumer rejection against genetically modified foods in order to force them out of the market. Genetically modified foods are foods where the gene from one species, say viruses or bacteria, are forced into the DNA of plants such as soy, corn, cotton, canola, sugar beets. Those are the 5 major GM crops. And the derivatives of those crops, unfortunately, are in the vast majority of processed foods. So when you look and see soy lecithin or soy protein or high fructose corn syrup, even sugar, unless it says cane sugar, will have genetically engineered sugar beet derivatives. The reason why genetically modified foods got on the market in the first place was because an FDA policy claimed that the agency wasn't aware of any information showing that the foods were significantly different. On that basis, they said absolutely no safety testing was necessary. If the biotech companies like Monsanto and Dow and DuPont tell us that the foods are safe, then the FDA has no further questions. The concept that the agency was not aware of differences between GM and non-GM foods was pure fiction. Documents made public from a lawsuit 7 years after the policy was created prove that the agency was very well aware that there was differences. In fact, the overwhelming consensus among the FDA's own scientists were that genetically modified foods could create allergies, toxins, new diseases and nutritional problems. They had urged their superiors to require long-term studies. But you see, the first Bush administration had ordered the FDA to promote the biotechnology industry. And so the FDA recruited for a position they created for him, they recruited Michael Taylor, Monsanto's former attorney, who later became Monsanto's vice president. While he was in charge, the policy was created that overruled and ignored the science and the scientists. Now, Michael Taylor, who I believe may be responsible for more food-related illnesses and deaths than anyone in human history for fast-tracking GMOs onto our food supply, he is now the U.S. food safety czar under the Obama administration. While Obama was campaigning in Iowa, where I'm from, he promised us that he would require mandatory labeling of genetically engineered foods. We've been asking for this for years. In fact, 9 out of 10 Americans want genetically modified foods to be labeled. But because the FDA is ordered to promote the biotechnology industry, they ignore the desire of 9 out of 10 Americans in order to protect the economic interests of 5 GMO companies. We had hopes that Obama would fulfill his campaign pledge, but so far, no luck. Instead, Obama has recruited and put into positions of authority, both in the USDA and the FDA, people with very close ties to Monsanto and the biotechnology industry. So he's been a very big disappointment from the side of those of us looking for a reasonable, rational, and safe policy regarding GMOs. In 2009, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine urged all doctors to prescribe non-GMO diets to everyone. They said animal feeding studies have linked GMOs causally with things like reproductive problems, immune system problems, accelerated aging, dysfunctional regulation of insulin and cholesterol, and organ damage and gastrointestinal problems. They asked for doctors around the country to prescribe non-GMO diets and to give out educational materials to help people understand the risks and the alternatives. There are 2 main reasons why people genetically modify foods. They either drink poison or produce poison. The poison drinkers are called herbicide tolerant. Most popular variety is Roundup Ready. Let me explain. Monsanto's scientists found bacteria growing in a chemical waste dump near their factory, surviving in the presence of their herbicide called Roundup. So they had the brilliant idea, let's put it in the food supply. So they took the gene from the bacterium that allowed it to survive applications of Roundup and put it into soybean, corn, cotton, canola, etc. So now you can spray the field with Roundup and it kills all of the other plant biodiversity in the field, but not the Roundup Ready soy and Roundup Ready corn. The other variety of genetically modified crops produces a poison. They take a gene from a soil bacterium that produces a natural insecticide and put it into the DNA of the plant. So every single cell of every single plant in millions of acres has its own little spray bottle that can kill an insect by destroying its digestive system. Because of the herbicide-tolerant crops, particularly the Roundup Ready crops, there's so much more Roundup being used in the United States. We're just drenching our fields with it. In fact, in the first 13 years since GMOs were introduced, it's estimated that 383 million pounds more of herbicide were sprayed in the United States because of the GMOs. The pesticide-producing crops are called Bt,